They called him Jacob Forsyth, a name that once held promise and hope, but had since become synonymous with fear and despair. Jacob's tale was one of tragedy, madness, and a darkness that could only be born from the deepest recesses of a disturbed mind. It all began on a chilling winter's night in the small, isolated town of Ravenswood. The town was surrounded by dense forests, and the rumors of strange occurrences in those woods had been whispered among the townsfolk for generations. Some claimed the trees whispered secrets, while others spoke of eerie lights flickering through the branches at night. But that night, all rumors came to life. Jacob was known as a quiet, unassuming man who kept mostly to himself. He lived in a dilapidated cabin deep within the forest, hidden away from prying eyes. As the winter snows fell heavily, he ventured out into the woods with a lantern in hand, searching for something that only he could comprehend. His path led him to a clearing illuminated by an otherworldly glow. In the center of this clearing stood an ancient, gnarled oak tree. Its branches twisted and reached out like skeletal fingers, as if trying to grasp the heavens themselves. Jacob approached the tree, his eyes wide with madness. He had been plagued by nightmares, disturbing visions that tormented him night after night. In these dreams, he saw grotesque, shadowy figures that whispered horrifying secrets into his ears. They told him of rituals and sacrifices, of an ancient pact that required a willing soul to appease the malevolent spirits that dwelled in the forest. Jacob believed these visions were a calling, a duty he could not ignore. Under the eerie glow of the moon, Jacob began to chant in a language unknown to man. The words poured from his lips like a river of darkness, and as he spoke, the ancient oak responded. Its branches shuddered, leaves rustling in an unnatural wind that swirled around Jacob. In the heart of the forest, the earth trembled, and the very trees seemed to come alive, their roots writhing beneath the snow-covered ground. The forest had accepted Jacob's dark offering. Over the following weeks, the town of Ravenswood descended into chaos. Unexplained disappearances haunted the community, and whispers of a malevolent presence in the forest grew louder. People barricaded themselves indoors after dark, and even the bravest among them dared not venture near Jacob's cabin. But the worst was yet to come. Jacob's sanity continued to unravel, and he began to hear voices that echoed through his mind like a never-ending nightmare. He no longer knew where the dream ended and reality began. The spectral figures from his nightmares materialized before him, taunting him with promises of power beyond imagination. Driven to madness by these relentless apparitions, Jacob took up a rusted, blood-stained knife, and in a frenzied stupor, he carved an intricate symbol into his own flesh, a symbol he had seen in his dreams, the mark of the malevolent spirits that now controlled him. As the symbol seared into his skin, Jacob's cabin erupted into an inferno of supernatural flames, and the entire forest seemed to pulse with an evil energy. The townsfolk, gripped by terror, watched in helpless horror as the forest around Jacob's cabin withered and died, its once lush greenery turning to ashen grey. One fateful night, Jacob emerged from the forest, a grotesque and unrecognizable figure. He wandered the town, his hollow eyes reflecting the torment of 1,000 souls. As he approached a group of townsfolk, they saw the symbol etched into his flesh, glowing with an otherworldly light. A chilling silence descended upon them all. With a voice that was not entirely his own, Jacob intoned words of unspeakable power, and a wave of darkness surged from his outstretched hand. The townsfolk, consumed by terror, were drawn into the void, their screams echoing in the night until they were silenced forever. Only one person remained untouched by the horror: Eliza, a young woman who had been investigating the disturbing events in Ravenswood. She had uncovered a cryptic journal hidden within Jacob's cabin, a journal that held the key to stopping the madness. Eliza ventured into the forest, guided by the journal's cryptic instructions. As she reached the ancient oak, she found herself face to face with Jacob, his malevolent gaze locking onto hers. But she held up the journal and began to chant the words it contained, a counter-incantation to the darkness that had consumed him. Jacob screamed in agony as the ancient spirits within him recoiled from the power of the journal. The symbol on his flesh burned brighter and brighter until it erupted in a blinding flash of light. The ground shook and the forest roared as the malevolent spirits were banished, their hold over Jacob broken. When the light faded, Jacob lay on the ground, his body broken and his mind shattered. Eliza, exhausted and trembling, knew that she had saved Ravenswood from the darkness that had nearly consumed it. In the aftermath, the town slowly began to heal, and the forest once again flourished with life. But the memory of Jacob Forsyth and the horrors he had unleashed would haunt Ravenswood for generations to come.